Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I was just going to do this video for a while, and I thought about it and figured I'd do it today. And I've been cutting down a lot of my videos because I am doing a new podcast, and I'll talk about that in my next video. I'm going to do 2 videos today. This is the first one of 2. So I was thinking about what is going on in the world and with the fears of the currency stuff and a lot of these globalization, as far as these entities like the World Economic Forum and, all these organizations, ostensibly it's globalism or globalization. If you're on the left, it's globalization. If you're on the right, it's globalism. So basically, I would say that globalism and globalization are just 2 terms for the same thing. And the right wing likes to have it a little bit more of a cartoonish version of what's really going on, and a little bit maybe more with some anti-Semitic tropes once in a while, and then the left likes to, or used to, what the left used to be more so than now, even though there are still people on the left that talk about this, but it's a little less common because they're so in lockstep a lot of the time nowadays, as we saw with the last 2 years. So the left has always called it globalization. So I'm just thinking about this top-down authoritarian, whether or not you believe it's authoritarian or this top-down system that they are pushing these top-down solutions to things that are, I think it's a cognitive blindness that these people have, that of course there's self-interest involved with this when you're an elite like Klaus Schwab or some corporate exec. So what is the solution to such things, and what is really the way to fight these things? And it's basically localization. So, there used to be these things on the left: think globally, act locally, all these things. This is back when the left was a lot more tolerable about a lot of things, and with regards to a lot of things. And many on the left were fighting things like globalization or, wars and stuff. And I'm not saying that's not still a big part of the left, but it has shrunk to some extent in the last few years. Everybody was jumped on this Trump train, of the anti-Trump train, I should say. And, they stopped talking about corporate power and censorship and stuff. A lot of the people, I watch certain channels that talk about this all the time, how this happened. Like Stick, Sex, and Hammer, for example, talks about it. And this is kind of what he's talking about, in my opinion. And also he talks about what I'm about to talk about too. So I think, if you don't want a central bank digital currency, that's, which they are talking about, which they obviously, with Canadian truckers and the people of a certain Slavic country of the biggest land mass in the world right now, they're turning off these people's people's currencies, essentially, or destroying them. Google Pay and Apple Pay and stuff was banned from this certain unmentionable country that I'm not going to mention. That I happen to like this really cool metal band right now that I'm trying to buy more of their albums. Of course, one of the albums I ordered a couple weeks ago cannot be shipped from there any longer, from eBay. I have to find other used copies and stuff of this band, Aria, which one of the best R word. I'm going to just try to censor myself before they censor me. And by the way, I'm probably going to go on Rumble if I continue doing this channel this much. I don't want to give up. I'm not going to give up this channel, but I'm just kind of like, I've been involved with my podcast, which like I said, I'm going to talk about in this next video a little bit more, but I'm going to talk about it on the next video. So I think, if we're going to have this, we're going to defeat this top-down, anarchists talk about top-down authoritarianism and top-down, things never work. They're always inherently corrupt, which I sort of started to believe, and in some respects they are. I'm more of a pragmatist, though, when it comes down to actual implementation. So, maybe philosophically, I'm more of an anarchist or libertarian, but I also like the Nordic countries, how they handle things. It's kind of I guess it's kind of a contradiction, but whatever. People are full of contradictions. Walt Whitman once said. So this is how really to fight this whole trend that started, ostensibly in the 70s with a lot of the currency stuff, and with Nixon, and then the economic neoliberalism that became the thing back then. I wish I knew more about this, like why exactly the world went in this direction. Was it really because Keynesian economics didn't work, or was it because people wanted to be more rich? Was it a combination of the two? I'm not exactly a scholar of economics, but I will say that it was a trend that went through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s and 2010s of this centralization of power economically with, NAFTA, GATT, World Trade Organization. And this is what they talk about when they talk about globalization or globalism, ostensibly. So the problem is that these people have too much power. They will, like they did with the convoy. They destroyed, they said, they destroyed their banking, capabilities, people to support a convoy. I don't know what's happening with that. There must be lawsuits up there in Canada. Because I know even the Canadian version of the ACLU were like pissed, which is ACLU in general, the American one has kind of gone more in the direction of being ass kissers to authoritarianism in recent years. Of course, that doesn't mean that their original causes weren't good. But anyways, back to the subject. So how do you do this? How do you fight this? So what you do is one thing on a personal level you can do is stop following like the whole trend of, it might sound weird because I'm recording this on my phone, which is actually an iPhone, by the way. Stop supporting these companies as much as you do. Maybe use, like I do, I use my own, this is a 2.5-year-old phone pretty much. I'm not going to buy a new phone every couple months. Stop doing that. Stop doing that kind of stuff. See if you can use the same computer, same phone for years. You just get it fixed to try to, and use a lot of, another thing you can do is use a lot of like public domain kind of, what's it called? The software. I'm trying to think of that word, freeware and, share, stuff like that. Don't use stuff that's like the corporations, like, Google talks about censoring, or, Microsoft talks about censoring people on their Word software. Like you have to, like, it has to be woke now or whatever. It's like, okay, well, use Open Office, use a lot of these other things that are independent of, public, it's like more public domain kind of things. And then also develop your own community. Improve yourself. I think Sex and Amber actually talked about this in a recent live stream. Improve yourself as a person, but also get out to the community and don't rely on Amazon or eBay, or not eBay, Amazon or Facebook or these big tech companies. Rely on them less for your entertainment. Rely on streaming services. Obviously I'm a hypocrite because I watch Shudder and stuff on Amazon, from Amazon. I'm just saying, like, rely on them less. As far as, it doesn't mean you have to cut it completely, but rely on that stuff less. Try to renovate a local theater, and try to have movie showings there, stuff like that. Just buy physical. I buy physical products. I don't really like streaming at all. Streaming stuff, other than movies, but I buy CDs still. I buy records. I bought this Lizzie Borden Give 'Em the Axe record because I wanted to buy it, because it seemed like a cool record to buy, just saying, buying physical products may seem contrary to like the environmental thing, but if they're telling us to use essentially coal-powered electric cars over gas-powered gas-powered cars, period, how much standing do they have as far as talking about environmentalism. But also, that goes into locally support, like legislation that regulates solar panels less, so you can have more solar panels on your have, like, if there's laws about, oh, you have to have this company support the solar panel thing, and it's this state government or this federal government has to regulate this, vote to deregulate solar stuff and have less stuff that's made in China or whatever. Like, I know they buy solar panel companies and stuff in China. Do more local kinds of things for the environment. Cultivate a public garden and buy food there. A farmer's market, go there. Don't buy these corporate made goods. That's one thing. And try to cultivate public gardens. And try to do things more locally. And this is going to be the most controversial thing, and hopefully YouTube won't, down the road, who knows, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, it's like 3 years from now, this might be like a video that they remove or something, but try to do your own currency, localized currency, and barter. And this is like really, this is the most edgy thing I could say probably. And people may not, it's not that edgy, that's not a big deal. Given a couple years, I think this is going to be the most edgy thing I can say in the world. Do your own currency. Try to come up with your own, like if you have like a neighborhood, come up, and I don't know how the hell you can do this, or maybe even cryptocurrency too, but cryptocurrency seems like it's going to be folded into the central bank digital currency that they're trying to do in the world. Come up with like a barter system in your community, like have I don't know how this stuff works. Like I know North Dakota is has the only bank that's not part of the Federal Reserve, I believe. Stuff like that. Like try to do your own. This is edgy as hell, because this is, and it doesn't sound like it is, but have like a barter store. Come up with like this place where you just trade stuff. It sounds like a used shop, but like actual barter, like no money is exchanged or something like that. Just come up with different types of ideas like that, just out of the box kind of stuff. Maybe even like a paper currency that you come up with that it's worth certain things just on your block. You have like some guy that's like a former banker or something that, he's retired and he does this like paper currency or something that you come up with just for your block, this kind of things like that. These little things. This is a nutty, I know it sounds like a nutty concept, but it's like, if we want to break free and be independent of the globalists, this is one of the best things you could do. And you can do this in a small town, you can come up with something like this, like these small towns. And that's the strange things about this, because like the people that will be doing this in the future are not from big liberal cities. I guarantee it'll be like some small southern town will come up with some type of system like this, unless there's like some hippie town in Oregon that decides to do this or something like that, like they were back in the old days, anti-GMO and the V word, supposedly, or certain things that were in the V. I'm talking about the V, the injected V. You know what I mean? So yeah, these are just ideas. There's Derek Brosey wrote this book in January of 2020 of all times, called How to Escape the technocratic state, how to evade it or whatever. I'm going to actually buy the book, the physical copy, which I haven't, but it's like becoming independent and having more of your local community propped up is a way to defeat these people, these corporate, this corporate elite, this technocratic elite they are conglomerating towards some type of system, even if it's a loosely affiliated one, it's still a system that they're going to do. And that's my whole concern with the whole thing, over the last 2 years, because it seemed like it was going in that direction with a lot of this stuff. And, oh yeah, what's wrong with bringing your card showing your V status to a show, Matt? Well, because I think it's kind of going towards this whole thing, because there's a lot of these things like the Excelsior Pass in New York and California that they're trying to get on your phone. And it's just it kind of fits with a lot of the stuff that's going on with them canceling things. Them canceling people's bank accounts and or different types of digital currency accounts, and that unnamed country of Slavic origin, which I will not mention because I do not want to get censored, or in Canada, you know. So I think this is a good way. Decentralization, localization, you know. That's one of the best things we could do right now to fight this trend of things going on. And you can, you know, I think a lot of the reason for I think it'll be like red states and like little red towns in the South coming up with like, we got our own Dixie currency, you know. I don't fucking know, but I think it will be. It seems like there is a switch between. It was all of the right wing that was kind of coming up with these centralized things, but in the past, of course, like right now with the crisis that's going on, it's both people on the right, the establishment right, and establishment left that are cheering on war. I see Fox News, there's just totally gone back to like 2002, 2003 kind of stuff, except for maybe Tucker Carlson and a couple other people. So it seems like the trend is kind of, I'm kind of on the left again on this thing, like the dissident left that'll be calling out shit. But I think ironically, it might be people on the right and the left that come up with this more localized system of things that they want to do, that we should do, versus authoritarian top-down, you know, ideas like central bank digital currency. You know, come up with your own currency, come up with your own little, you know, you have you know, I don't know what they're going to put on the picture of the bill. Maybe they can come up with some type of alternate currencies in towns. You know, the city council vote, you know, run for city council, come up with like some kind of barter system for the town. You know, this is the way to escape this shit, and have a community garden that you know, I call it collectivism, but it's collectivism on a small scale. It's never been a bad thing. It's when it's on these grand scales is when tyranny happens. I think even like if I remember Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, which I find to be not her best work, but I think like Gulch or whatever was like almost like what I'm talking about in a way. It was really weird. It was very collectivist in certain ways, which is kind of ironic coming from Ayn Rand. But we can look at these things in a different way, you know. So I think that's, in conclusion, that's what we should do, is try to localize things and try to make things more local. Get out of your house. You know, obviously the last 2 years you were told to stay in your house and stay at these global systems, or these big corporations, Amazon, or, you know, these social media groups. Do Zoom. Don't go on a date, do Zoom. I'm still scared of meeting people in real life. You know, it's like, I hated that shit so much because it just destroyed our, and whether it was, I'm not saying it was intentional or not, but it destroyed our ways of it was very unhuman. That's why you have these things like the kids in school having these problems, and their CDC say, or a certain medical organization in America changing the guide, you know, the learning stuff or whatever. I read about that somewhere. I don't remember. I know Jimmy Dore talked about it or something. But anyways, that's about all.